So in this lecture, we will use something what's known as a view pager, so that we can swipe from one page to another page to watch the details of different reports that we are creating. So a view pager will provide us a much better interface and a much better user experience. You may have already seen its use in some of the application that you use, where you can just swipe left or right to move from one page to the another page of an application. And today we will learn how to develop that functionality into your own application. So in this lecture, we will add a new activity. We will call it a pager activity, and then we will define a view hierarchy that consists of a view pager, and then we will wire up this view pager and its adapter in our new activity that we described. And then we will modify our on click method in the report holder class so that we can start this pager activity instead of our regular report activity that we are currently starting. So let's start with developing our new activity, and we will call it a report pager activity. So this will be a subclass of the fragment activity. So let's get started. So I'm going to new Java class. I will call it report pager activity. I add it. I now extends fragment activity. As you can see that our library is now imported. Move on, and I just override the onCreate method, protect it, void onCreate bundle saved instance state, and in this we just call the super dot onCreate saved instance state, and then we set the view to a layout that we haven't yet created, but we will soon be creating. So I will call this layout as activity underscore report underscore pager. So we are getting an error. This is red because we have not created this layout. So in the next step, let's create this layout of the type the report pager that we want to do. So let's start working with it. Start creating this layout. So in the layout file, I go and I create a new layout resource file, and I'm just giving it the name of the name which we just gave, that is the activity report pager, activity underscore report underscore pager. When I look in this, I hope to find something useful, and this is my root element, which is currently written as linear layout, but I will call it view pager. So as you can see that I can access this, so view pager, and then I press OK. So if we go to the text, we have got this code automatically added, and we will now be making some changes to this code. The one change that we definitely want is to add an ID, because we will be making use of it. So as usual, we do add plus ID slash, let's call it activity underscore report underscore pager underscore view underscore pager. So you may have already noticed that I always put the suffix of the type that I am creating, and that is usually a very good practice, and it is also the convention. So we've created it. Rest we will leave to match parent, match parent. That's how it will look like, which is fine for our purpose. So this looks all right. Now we will go on and we will write some other code. So the view pager is very similar to the recycler view that we are using. That is that a view pager will work with the will work in the same manner that a recycler view works with its adapter. The view pager has a pager adapter and the recycler view had an adapter. However, the interaction between the view pager and the pager adapter, which the view pager uses, is much more involved. So we will now be creating that part of the code in our program so that we can make use of the view pager. So let's get started into our report pager activity that we earlier created. So earlier we had only used the on create. Now we are going to augment it with more code so that we can do more work. The first thing is that I will create a view pager and view pager alt 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 enter. I'll do import class, yes, and then the list items that we want to see. So we need to have a list of report. We need to have a list of reports. List report report and reports. Yes. Alt enter. So this is also done. We put everything right. And then we are going to augment the on create method further to get our desired functionality. So I start with mViewPager, which will create, so ViewPager, then we find view by id r.id.activity report pager ViewPager. That's just the layout that we created. And then m reports equal to report store dot get this dot get reports. Now something which we have already done, use of a fragment manager. I will just say call it a fragment manager. And then we do get support fragment manager m pager dot set adapter new fragment state pager adapter. That's the adapter that I was talking to you about when we discussed the similarity between the view pager and the recycler view. Now it is overriding two methods. One is the get item method and one is the get count method. So in the position we need to write some more code. So report equal to m reports dot get, because we need to give the right report whose detail that we want to see, and then we want to return the null, but we will return the report fragment dot new instance So if you remember, we had created this new instance method to create our fragment. So we were no longer working with the constructor of the fragment, but the new instance method. And here we just say report dot get id. And in the get count also we need not to return 0. We can return mReports dot size. That is it. Quickly look into what we have done here. So what we have done is that we have created a view pager, and then we have given it the list of reports that we want to work with, and then we set then we use the fragment manager and set the adapter to the correct fragment. So we get that from this piece of code. And here, so essentially what we are showing is that we are creating fragments, and we are making sure that we keep a track of the fragments that we have created to display the right details by using some of these variables. So now the task that is left for us is to integrate the activity and this code. So now let's go back to our report pager activity and add some more code here. First is again, because we need to pass some information, and so the way we are preparing the report pager activity is to that it will do the work what earlier report activity was doing. So if you remember, the report activity was passing a report id, and then we were creating a new intent, and then we were sort of creating a fragment related to that. Now we want to do similar activity here, because we will replace report activity with report pager activity. So we are starting with string extra underscore report underscore id equal to, can just give it the same name, p dot psync dot res my mc16 dot report intent dot report underscore id. And this is fine. And the second thing I need to do is to create the new intent method similar to the one that we had created in the report activity class. So public static intent new intent context package context. We could have actually simply copied that method and made some changes, but let us write it again. So intent equal to new intent, and then we will do package context and rip. So instead of the report activity, now we'll do report pager activity dot class, and then we will do some extra just like we were doing last time. So extra report id and the report id. Then we will do the return intent. So you see that this method is very similar to the method which we had earlier created in the report activity. The only difference is here. Rest everything is same, because we want to eventually replace report activity with the report pager activity. Now just some another change in the on create while we were doing the, so if you go here, then we had something like this. So we will have to also enable this thing here. So we will go to the report pager activity, and add some code, maybe here. So UUID report ID equal to UUID get intent dot get serializable extra report ID. So yes, and this looks fine for the time being. Let's we adding some more code to make this program work and use the view pager. Now let's go to the report list fragment class, which will now start our instead of starting the report activity, it should now start report pager activity. So yes, so let us see where we were starting report activity. So yeah, so in the on click we were starting report activity. Now we will be doing the report pager activity. So let me just add pager. I hope everything is fine. So yes, everything is fine. And now we also need to add the report pager activity to the manifest file so that the OS can start it. And we are in the manifest file. We will be having, so we had this activity called report activity. Now I will remove report activity and add report pager activity. But what I will do is I will just add this. So now report activity is gone and report pager activity has come. And what I'm saying is essentially that now there is no activity in the my program called report activity because we don't need it anymore. And let me just give it a label equal to add string name. So this is all fine. So I save my manifest file. I have made some changes in the code and now I do not need report activity anymore. So I do not need report activity. So I will most likely delete it. So I right click and I delete and I press OK. So now let's run our program and see what changes have happened. Let's run our program. Let's create on report 2. So now you see that I can swipe report 3, report 4, report 5. I can swipe left, and obviously this is a much better UI and gives a much better user experience. So in this very small span of time, you just saw how to use Viewpager and how to integrate it. And you can also see that by using fragments, fragment arguments, recycler view and Viewpager, how you can make applications which have multiple interfaces and how easy it is to make such applications. Now have we done everything here? Maybe let's try it again. So I am currently here. I go back and let's say I want to see the report 6. Oh, but it always starts with report 0. Is that so? Let's try one more time. I click on report 10. Oh no, it is starting with report 0 again. So we need to do some more fixing of the code because by default we see that it is always starting with report 0, and this is happening because the view pager always stores the first item in the pager adapter, and because the first item is report 0, that's why it is showing it. So now let's add some more code, and we will be adding this code in the report pager activity. And towards the very end in the onCreate method, let us add some code. So this is our report pager activity. So just after everything, I am saying after setting the adapter, let me add a simple loop. I am reports dot size I plus plus if am reports dot get I dot get id dot equals, and it should be equal to the report id. Then set my view pager current item to I and just get out of the loop. So now let's save it and start running the program again to see what happens. So now we run the, so now if I click on report 7, the report 7 comes in. I can go to 8 and I can go to 6. So that small bug is now removed. Now if you see that here we were using something called fragment state pager adapter, there is another pager adapter that we could have used, which is just called fragment pager adapter. Both works pretty much same, except that there is one crucial difference, that when we are using fragment state pager adapter and we are not using a fragment, then that fragment is destroyed. So the idea of the fragment state pager adapter is that as soon as a fragment is not used, it is destroyed. But if we were using fragment pager adapter, then the fragment pager adapter doesn't destroy the fragment, but it just removes the fragment and it destroys only the fragment's view. So the fragment instance remains alive, but its view is destroyed. So as you can imagine, that fragment state pager adapter is more uh, frugal with the memory. It manages the memory very well. And if each of your fragment is heavy, for example, if each of your fragment includes a photograph, and then it may be a better choice. So whether you use the fragment state pager adapter or whether you use the fragment pager adapter, it depends on the application that you are using and the type of fragments that you are creating. Obviously, one is good with the memory while the other one will possibly give you less delay. So that's your choice. So in this video, we learned about using Viewpager, and we learned about how to use Viewpager to scroll, to create a UI where you can scroll. Instead of scrolling, you can swipe left and right, and you can see new fragments viewed in your application. So that is for it.